Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna
3.
sneeze, though, I think. Guess not.
Well, now I'm disappointed.
I know, me too.
In 3.
You're a liar. 2. And 1. Welcome to Access Sports Weekly here on AccessWDUN.com. Bo Wilson, beside Caleb Hutchins. And
Do you want to do that again? What was that? What happened to our intro?
How long have you been doing radio?
I don't know, dude. Here we go again. In 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to Access Sports Weekly here on AccessWDUN.com. Bo Wilson here with you, beside Caleb Hutchins, and, of course, our producer who is back behind and in front of his own camera, Seth Chapman. What's up, fellas?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, just dandy.
Have you dried off yet?
No, I have not. In our pre-show meeting, it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
That pre-show meeting went for a while.
Yeah, just
it did.
Yeah,
It did. Because apparently I got outsmarted by a poncho Friday night, in addition to just getting soaking wet in general.
let's
But-
revisit the outsmarting of the poncho.
So apparently it had been a while since I put a poncho on.
Apparently,
So I get out of the car at Flowery Branch. I can hear the music. I know it's about probably 5 minutes till kick. I'm about a 5-minute walk from the field. So I'm like, I need to go. I've got a jacket in my car, and I've got this poncho that I folded up into a plastic baggie. 'Cause I thought ahead, right? Smart.
of course.
Okay, I go to take the poncho out, and I go to put it on, and I cannot get this thing put on correctly. There's like some Velcro on it that's not, I don't know if it's latched in properly or not. I don't know if I'm putting it on the right direction. It took me like a minute to find where the head hole was.
Yeah.
But I got it outsmarted by a poncho. And
As you
I
do.
threw it back in the car and put the jacket on and ran into the stadium.
And that was not a very good idea, though, because of the rain.
Yeah, the rain got pretty heavy. It was like when I got to Flowery Branch right at kickoff, it was just kind of a light drizzle. Seth knows this because he was there too. It was just kind of a light drizzle. But like somewhere around the middle of the first quarter, it just started pouring.
Yeah.
I went to the press box. Seth had to stay on the field, though.
Yeah.
And it continued to pour.
For the rest of the game. Until like the very end of the game, it went to like a lighter drizzle. And
It
I was able
stopped
to go.
at halftime.
Yeah, it did. It
It
actually
did.
did stop for a little bit at halftime because I was at my car changing gear and it stopped. I was like, hey, I may not get drenched the other half. And I was starting to put my camera together and then it came down again. And I was just like, oh, okay. It's going to be one of these.
So in those situations, Seth, how fun is it to be holding a camera on the sidelines? Silence.
Not at all. Zero fun. Absolutely no fun.
Did you look at him? It didn't look like he had fun.
He just went complete silent.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun. I mean, I always enjoy filming football and all that, but I don't enjoy getting soaked.
It's
I
just an
won't lie.
added pain in the butt during the game.
A little bit, yeah, because you got to
Yeah.
try and protect your camera and you got to try and
Yeah.
protect all the gear.
Just
but-
get a waterproof camera.
I mean, technically, I do have one, but it's not like I'd stick it underwater and be happy with it, you know?
Hey, watch this.
Hey, watch this. I'm going to throw my camera in the lake and it'll be fine.
It's good.
It basically
not
felt
good.
it basically felt like I'd just gotten out of the lake by the time I got to the press box at the start of the second quarter.
Oh, get this. On Saturday, I had a wedding. And so I was in Buford.
You had a
shooting
wedding?
wed-
Congratulations, dude.
I
I
shot
thought you
a
were already
wedding.
married.
I shot a wedding.
Oh.
Had a wedding to shoot with a camera.
You shot at a wedding?
Would you guys? Yes. Stop this. I filmed a wedding. This is not the point. The point is, with all the tornado warnings and everything that happened in that area, we got to like 9:30 at night, and the venue told us all like, "Hey, get in the basement." And so we all went and got in the basement, and then a few minutes later, they were like, "Okay, you have 10 minutes to leave, or you're going to be here for a very long time." And so I got my junk and left. And when I got outside of that venue, it felt like I had jumped into a river when I got to my car. And I only actually took the umbrella off for like a few seconds. And I was drenched.
It was pouring pretty hard Friday
yeah.
night when I left the state. I usually leave the station about 11:30 at night, something like that, and it was pouring pretty hard then. And I think it affected some teams around the area too. Obviously, it didn't affect others, namely Dawson County, the game that you were at They seemed to not mind the rain at all. They just kept flinging it around.
Now, Dawson or White they both just played through it. Dawson, especially with most of their yards through the air. So, I mean, it didn't phase Dawson's passing game, which, you would think, Caleb, when you talk to the coaches, during the week, and they're all talking about whether there's going to be weather, and then we get to Thursday, there's not going to be weather. Then we get to Friday, then there's going to be weather. So they were kind of prepared for some wetness, but you would think it would have slowed, a passing team down, but it didn't slow Dawson down any.
They had one of their best games of the season offensively in terms of efficiency. I know that they didn't put up as many points as they put up in some other games this year, but in terms of efficiency, coming up with big plays and the big moments, I thought Dawson County, and we had talked about this before the game, that was really a game for Dawson County where they had a chance to really change the face of Region 7-3A, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, they kind of jumped in the driver's seat, per se. I know Bluff, they're undefeated. North Hall, they're undefeated. But that was such a huge game to kick off the region play between White County, who was preseason favorite to win the region, Dawson County, who was floated around but had a lot of question marks because of the defense. Then you had Bluff, who had the infusion of talent. So they were kind of an automatic favorite as well. And now you've got Dawson, who knocked off White County, who kind of put themselves in the driver's seat. So, that was the interesting game from that standpoint. The bummer of the game, J. Ben Haynes went out with injury. Coach Coakley said earlier this week that he's doing well, but didn't give any indication if he's going to be back or if he's going to be out this week. So, he went out of the game in the third quarter. But Riley Stansel comes in on the very next play and scampers 12 yards for a touchdown and really performed well. He had a couple key turnovers in that game, but he performed well at quarterback. But with J. Ben out, that kind of stifles their offense a little bit because of the passing game, because J. Ben can throw the football. But that game, Dawson, White County, was, as usual, 3 years ago when they played it, I think it was 44-40, as usual, a great game.
Absolutely, and now I think that region is as you mentioned earlier, wide open because North Hall is starting to come on at the right time. All of a sudden, that White County North Hall game becomes a must-win for White County, and I still think West Hall is a good enough team that I think they can kind of play spoiler to somebody in that region too. I think they could sneak up and get. They play Cherokee Bluff at home this week. They play Dawson County. They play White County. West Hall, I think, has got enough pieces that they could upset one of those teams and throw a monkey wrench into this thing. So, it's going to be – we thought when this region was announced that this could be a fun region to watch. I think that's exactly what we're going to get.
West Hall, definitely one of those teams you don't want to overlook, regardless of how they've played the last couple of weeks. You don't want to overlook them. But that is kind of that is a huge game for West Hall, for one, and for Bluff. And some people might say, well, it could be a trap game a little bit for Bluff, but – Cherokee Bluff, they continue to be able to pull out games. I know they struggled a bit early against Gilmer, but ended up winning that game 21-6. So
Gilmer, by the way, could be another one of those teams that could play spoiler too. I know people might have written them off after they lost to Cherokee Bluff, but I got to be honest with you, Gilmer's a much improved team. Yeah. They could beat a North Hall. They could beat a White County if J. Ben Haynes is not playing, I think, potentially. So Gilmer's could play spoiler too, and it's going to be wild. There's going to be some crazy stuff happening in 7-3A.
All right, so one of the other games that was huge on the schedule, which you two, we talked about a bit just a second ago, Jefferson and Flowery Branch. Jefferson, now the number one team in Class 4A. Jefferson is a team that I thought during the preseason of the summer that was just going to be locked down defensively. Didn't know for sure if Malachi was going to play quarterback, but he is playing quarterback, Malachi Stark. So how good is this Jefferson team?
To me, they look like the best team in Class 4A right now. I don't know how you could argue. I know that Marist is a great program. We know what Marist has done historically, and I understand that they're very good this year. But I don't see how you can look at Jefferson's resume so far this year and not call them the number one ranked team in the state. I mean, when you look at them going on the road to, I think Flowery Branch was number 5 in 4A and winning 40-10 on a televised game, going to Rabun County and holding Gunner Stockton to 14 points and winning that ball game. They played a Class 7A school in Mountain View earlier this year. They took a road trip to Hart County, which is always a tough road game to go play. Jefferson's resume to me is the best of any team in the state in 4A right now. I know there are some people who might still rank Marist ahead of them. Maybe you're splitting hairs, but to me, Jefferson looks like the best team in 4A. And what was so impressive to me about that game, Bo, was both teams had to adapt. The weather made both teams adapt. Flowery Branch's passing game was struggling in the rain. It was clear that the wet conditions were affecting them. Jefferson had a muffed punt. I don't know that Jefferson was as comfortable with maybe some of the pitch-out plays that we see them run a lot. I think they were trying to keep the ball a little bit more in between the tackles, so they had to kind of adjust their game a little bit. But overall, anytime there was a big play to be made in that game, that was really the difference in the game, I thought. Both teams moved the ball pretty evenly well. When you look at the final stats, they're about even, but every time there was a key play to be made. Jefferson's got a 3rd and short. Flowery Branch has a 4th and short. It was always Jefferson who made the play at the key moment. And that is the kind of stuff that you have to do to win a state title. And I think that Jefferson showed that they're ready to do that. I mean, remember, this is a team that was in the state quarterfinals last year and came up that short against a team that went on to the state championship game on the road. Jefferson, I think, is starting to look like the kind of team that can win a state title in 4A.
So that region, Region 8 4A, Jefferson Branch, and then you look at North Oconee. I think it's Bubba Chandler, their quarterback,
right,
who's a Clemson commit. Coach Hall said last week not to overlook North Oconee. I'm pretty sure Cathcart would say the same thing. How good is North Oconee? Do we know how good North Oconee is?
I don't think we really know yet. It was they won against Madison County by 15 points, I think. That was good for them to get that 1-0 start in region play. They're playing Chestatee this week. That we know that Chestatee has struggled so far. So you imagine they very well could be 2-0 coming into Flowery Branch, and then I think that game right there, North Oconee, I think that's at Flowery Branch, not this week but next. I think that becomes the game that decides the number 2 seed in that region. And I think Ben Hall's right to say don't count them out. And we've seen Flowery Branch struggle against passing attacks earlier in the year. Of course, we know Flowery Branch's defense has been improving, but and Flowery Branch will get a week off to kind of lick their wounds from the Jefferson game. Hopefully it's not raining again when they play next week. But that game, I think, is going to decide the number 2 seed. I really don't see Jefferson losing to anybody in that region right now.
Now, one of the teams we didn't get to talk about last week because of the show record and then what happened a day after, East Hall,
right,
who was really starting to churn, offensively. Defense was getting better. Boom, COVID hits them. They've had to sit out 2 weeks now. They lost last week's game against Cedar Shoals, which I thought they had a great opportunity to win that game.
I did too.
Chance.
I thought they would win that game.
Yeah, I thought they really would win that game as well and set themselves up on a path to the state playoffs. Now they've had to basically drop 2 games, one to Cedar Shoals and then this week to Jefferson. Now, shout out to Coach Perry and his coaching staff of how far East Hall has come since last year and the year before, obviously before Coach Perry got there. But that offense was churning at the time that they went, sorry, COVID's going to cancel 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely. It stinks. I still think East Hall can get back to the playoffs because right now I think they're better than Madison County. I think they're better than Chestatee at this point. The question will be, could they knock off a North Oconee, or does Cedar Shoals get beat by somebody like Madison County or Chestatee? I still think there's a path for East Hall into the playoffs. It's just a lot more difficult. And I don't know that they would have beaten Jefferson this week after what we just saw Jefferson do, but I really thought they would beat Cedar Shoals. And so they lost that opportunity. So now they've got to go make up for it. I don't know, can they beat a North Oconee? I like I said, I think they'll beat Madison County. I think they'll probably beat Chestatee, but they're going to have some work to do. I still think it's possible, but man, if that Cedar Shoals game ends up being the difference, that one's going to sting.
So also another shout out to North Hall this week. The Trojans, their offense has started out averaging 9 points a game. Of course, they played kind of a gauntlet and a non-region play to start. We all knew that North was very young. They lost like 19 seniors from the team, and now their offense is starting to move the football. You have Rochester, and you've got Clark Howell. I mean, those guys are just massive for North Hall right now.
Clark Howell's putting up insane numbers the last 2 weeks. I mean, look at Clark Howell's rushing numbers. They stack up with anybody in the state of Georgia over the last 2 weeks. And we said this all year, that North Hall, they're really young. They might struggle out of the gate, but let them get a little bit of momentum under them. Let them kind of find who their go-to guys are. Let them find their chemistry. And all of a sudden, they're a team that, and hey, the rivalry game with White County this week, boy, if I'm White County, I am not liking what I'm seeing on tape out of North Hall these last 2 weeks, because all of a sudden they look like a team with a White County team that's reeling off of a loss to Dawson County and now playing without Jabin Haynes. All of a sudden, this North Hall team looks like the last kind of team that you want to see rolling up into Cleveland next week.
Not to mention it's a rival game between North Hall and White County, so that's just an added flavor to the whole match.
Every game between these two the last 4 years has been decided by 10 points or less. 2 years ago, White County had a 2-possession fourth-quarter lead. North Hall came back and won it in the final seconds. Last year at North Hall had a 2-touchdown lead going into the fourth quarter. White County came back and won it in the final minutes, so who knows what will happen this time? We've seen crazy stuff happen in this rivalry, and this sets up to me to be the kind of game that could see another crazy finish.
And you can hear that game live on FM 102.9 WDUN this week.
It took us a while to get Chris and Dan back on a North Hall game.
Yeah.
They did
Dan this week, Chris, he's going to be heading over to Tuscaloosa to
that's right. I forgot about that.
The Georgia-Alabama game, and so Chris Casey will be in on the call this week on 102.9.
I don't think Dan's done a North Hall game since the Crisp County game last year.
Let's just say Dan is completely excited. On AM 550, we'll bring you the Bluff game. They are at West Hall, Cherokee Bluff and West Hall. So Brian, Gene, and Horst will have the call of that game. And then, of course, on the lake, Gibby and Juddy, they'll have the call of Lambert and Gainesville. So any other games this week that kind of stick out to you on this schedule?
Habersham Central getting that win over Winder Barrow last week. Huge. That was the game last year that kept them out of the playoffs. Was a 1-point loss on a blocked extra point at the end of the game with Winder Barrow. Kept Habersham out of the playoffs. They go to Winder. They're trailing late in the fourth quarter. They score 2 touchdowns in the final 4.5 minutes to win the game. Huge. And we were talking earlier this week. I think that's the kind of game that we might look back on at the end of the year and say, Habersham booked their playoff trip right there. They've still got to take care of business. They need to beat Central Gwinnett, who has really struggled this year. They might need to beat Shiloh, but I think they can do it, and I think they may have helped themselves out a lot last week.
So they will host Buford this week up in Mount Airy, and that should be an interesting matchup. And also Gainesville's going back into region play, hosting Lambert this week. That also against an improving Lambert team, but I think Gainesville probably gets this one.
I think Gainesville's the better team. The question will be, Gainesville's coming off of 2 really physical games and 2 very emotionally draining games against Forsyth Central and against Hillgrove. Lambert's coming off the bye week. So is Lambert a little bit fresher than Gainesville? Is Gainesville able to overcome that? But I do think Gainesville's the better team, and at home, I'm expecting them to win Friday.
All right, now to the time of the show when we let Seth have his little segment here to pick all those little rainy highlights from last week.
Thanks for throwing me the bone.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I was just going to let you set it up instead of me.
I only produce the show and stuff. Thanks for throwing me a bone.
Okay, Seth's highlights are coming up here right now. Seth?
Called Seth's Picks.
Seth's Picks, sorry. Yeah. Seth's Picks.
Here they are, guys.
Seth's Picks, always doing a fantastic job on picking out the highlights of the week. And shout out to Lauren Hunter and Kayla Martin as well, part of our videography staff, as Seth does his direction there with the video.
You just send them out. I just cut it together.
Yeah, do a good job.
Thank you.
Fantastic. By the way, go subscribe to our YouTube page. You can watch all of them. Access WD1.
By the way, also, the hype video that Seth put together before the Jefferson Flowery Branch game, excellent.
Always excellent.
Well, thank you.
Seth does a fantastic job.
He does.
Yeah.
I try.
But you know who's a great guy?
Who?
Seth.
Yes, he's just a great guy.
Oh, man. It's too much, guys. It's too much pressure.
Okay. Well, now it's time, speaking of pressure.
Will Hart, Team of the Week.
See, now you can't see the big voice guy. Well, you could if you flipped over to his camera when he said that.
But I won't do that.
So, our selection this week, you and I kind of talked about it. We're going to throw this out because Jefferson, now they're up to number 1, a big win over Branch, and then Dawson County, a big win over White County. There's our 2 picks this week. What say you?
I think Jefferson.
Okay.
Because to go on the road in the rain and beat Flowery Branch by 30 points, it doesn't get much more impressive than that. So, to me, Jefferson's the clear pick for me this week.
No, you pick, Bo.
You want me to go?
Yeah, I want you to go.
You're the tiebreaker.
And yeah, that's how this works.
Okay.
You 2 pick,
Right.
and then I'm the tiebreaker.
So here's who I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick Dawson from the standpoint of the amount of yards they were able to put up in the rain. 300, and it's according to who you look at, whose stats you look at, between 342 to 362 yards passing for Zach Holtzclaw and that offense. And, of course, you know, Sonicson and Gibson, the receivers. So I'm going to go with them because it was pouring down rain, and they were able to pass the ball, and they were able to pull that game out. So I'm picking Dawson this week.
And so it comes to this.
Yes, I did it on purpose.
I know you did. You always throw pressure on me.
Pressure on you, Seth.
But actually, Bo, this week, I'm going to agree with you and go with Dawson. I feel like apparently you're both very surprised by that. I feel like this was a win that, you know, really did some good for Dawson County team. I feel like they really, you know, needed this. It was something that is really going to boost them in their journey throughout the rest of the season. So I'm gonna hand it to Dawson for clinching the win.
Well, Caleb, you've been outvoted.
Yep, well, it happens. It is election season after all. I concede defeat. I concede defeat to my opponent. It was a well-fought campaign.
Huge. And that's a wrap for the show, folks, and congratulations to Dawson County.
Caleb says bye.
Caleb's
out. We'll just close out the show without Caleb.
Sore loser.
Caleb, get back in here.
So congratulations to Dawson County. You're this week's
Will Hart, Team of the Week.
Well, and since the co-host over here has left the building, he left his jacket, not his poncho. But
I think that was all the cheese he could handle for one show.
Oh, he's coming back.
Oh, there he is. Look at that.
Left my jacket.
Yeah. And there he goes. So that's a wrap for the show this week, folks. As Caleb left mad, he's such a sore loser. Check him out on Twitter at Hutch9473. I'm at the Bo Wilson. Of course, it's scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Just search us up there. For Seth, for Caleb, who left us, I'm Bo. Enjoy week number 7 of high school football.